Good morning everybody, it's Jenna again from Roots to Branches, and today I thought you would like to join me to see the result from making some plantain healing balm. So I've just started my fire going, and as you can see I've got a bit of paper on it this morning. I've got some confidential waste that I need to get rid of, so in proper fire style I'm burning it. Because I need a little bit of heat this morning and I need a bit of fire going on, so here we go. So we've got a bit of a fire. So plantain is a plant. It's native to Britain. It grows everywhere in grass verges and hedgerows. And it has long leaves like this, and they grow out in a clump from the middle and they open out like that. And this is plantain, and it's really easy to spot. Ribwort plantain, it's got veins that actually run up the same direction as the leaf. So if you look really closely there, you can see there's lines running up and down, and they're really quite a nice one if you want to do a leaf rubbing, because it's unusual to find a leaf pattern that looks like that there. So it's got lovely ribs just up there, and we're going to use this to make a balm, a bit like a lip balm or a salve, something like that. We're going to use it. So it's a bit of a long process, so I've sped it up a bit, doing a bit of blue pea style this morning, and I've done some of that. So what you need to do is find some plantain, and I'll pop a picture on of it later, okay. But it's in a clump like that. It's got a stalk with a flower on, but it's not a typical flower. It's like a little brown blob with some little tiny white sort of asteroids kind of running around the outside. But if you walk around you'll find it. So I walked around my village and I found about 3 plants of plantain. So I've not gone to town on this one, but if you have got plenty, like on Lytham Green, I noticed there was a lot on there as well, you can pick quite a few. So you need about 30 leaves. I could only find about 15, so I've gone with 15, so half my recipe for today, and I'm hoping it works. And this healing balm is supposed to be quite antiseptic and really good for nettle stings, bites, and like if you've got grazes or bumps or even sunburn, it's supposed to be quite good for. So it's supposed to be quite antiseptic and quite good for your skin. So you take these leaves, you give them a good wash, and then you let them dry, because you want them dry if possible. And then you want to rip them into a jar. So I've got a nice cleaned out jar there, and just want to rip them into little bits like that. Pop them in the jar, and then you want to squash them down as much as you can. So if you imagine this is 15 leaves instead of 6, squash them down into the jar once you've ripped them all up, and really press them down. And then you want equal parts leaves to oil. So I used olive oil, just pouring olive oil there, but you can use coconut oil, that works well apparently as well, but I used olive oil for mine. And I squash it down, and you put equal parts. So if it fills your jar up, when it's squashed down up to here, fill it up to there. If it fills up to here, fill it up to there. It's quite easy, so just equal parts. And then you need to then cook it a little bit. But you don't want to cook it on a high temperature, because it'll lose all of its nutrition. Good morning everybody. And you don't want to cook it on a high heat, so you want like a bain-marie. So if you've ever melted chocolate, this is kind of what you want to do. So you want to get a pan. It doesn't have to be as big as my pan. This is my camping pan, with a bit of water in the bottom, and pop your jar, or pop it in a Pyrex jug if you've got one of those, and pop it into the water and put it on the heat for about 30 minutes on a really low temperature, and just let it simmer and infuse the oil that's in there. So I'm going to pop mine because I'll need this water a bit warmer for later. So I'm going to put my water on top of my fire. It might get a bit smoky. I just need it to warm back up again. There we go. So I've not used the chimney for this, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so you've got your plantain and oil, and it's simmered away for about half an hour in the bain-marie, so it's not getting too hot. It's just nicely warming through and releasing the nutrients out of the ripped leaves. And then you want to sieve it out. So try and get a sieve or something with a really fine mesh, and pour the oil and leaf mixture and collect all the leaves, and you can compost those afterwards. And then you want to keep the oil because that's your infused plantain oil. So for those who've just joined us, I'm making some plantain heat salve, which is a bit of an antiseptic balm that you can use on insect stings and nettle stings. So we've just put in a bit of oil and we've drained it. So we've got our infused oil, which looks a bit like this. So the plantain oil is actually sitting, because it's been sat on the side for a bit, it's actually sitting in blobs. I don't know if you can see that. It's actually sitting in blobs inside the oil, so I better give it a bit of a shake. Just like that. There we go. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to make it into a balm. And for that we need beeswax. So it's 20 grams of beeswax for about 30 leaves. So I have put 10 grams of beeswax. So this is beeswax that I've been using to coat leaves, but you can buy it in little bars like that from hardware shops. And to give you a bit of context, that is about 60 grams. So you'd need, about 30 grams. So you'd need 2/3 of that there to make a full tub, but I've only got a half tub, so I'm going to use just 10 grams of beeswax for mine. So you want to grate it, or you want to slice it up or crush it in some way, and pop, and then you've got it in little pieces, and you want to pop that in a jar. So I've got a little jar here, and I'm going to pop it in a jar. Ta-da! And then you want to pop it in your bain-marie. Woo, smoky. In there like that. Let's let some of that smoke out. Woo. There we go. It's a bit better. There we go. So you want to pop that in and just let that melt away until it's all melted down. Smoky, smoky, smoky. And so it's all melted down, and then we're going to add that to the oil, and we're going to give it a bit of a stir. And then we want to get our jars ready. So I've got a little jam jar, or it's actually a natural deodorant jar, but it's cleaned. I've put some boiling water in it just now, just to make sure it's nice and clean. And I'm going to pour it in there because it solidifies quite quickly, I believe. Although it's quite warm outside, so who knows what will happen. So I've got the jar ready. The other thing you can do is the lady that I got the recipe off, she adds essential oils in. So once the wax is mixed with the oil, she adds about a teaspoon of essential oils, and she uses lavender in hers. I'm not going to add any essential oil today. I'm just going to go with it and see what it smells and feels like with just the leaves, because the leaves don't have a particularly pungent smell. It's a bit of a green smell, like that kind of cut grass sort of smell. So I'm going to see what it smells like without the essential oils in. So let's see. Should we see if it's a bit melted? Let's have a little look. It's getting there. It's getting there. So let's see. Leave it on there for a bit longer. There we go. So fire's looking lovely in there though. And if you've just joined me, I've been burning my my confidential waste while I've been on as well. Doubling up on the jobs. So I'm going to leave you with the fire just while the wax melts. If you've got any questions, give me a little type up and say hello. But we just need to wait for the wax to melt. So that's why I did the plantain oil. The plantain oil before I came on, because it takes half an hour. And you don't want to watch a fire for half an hour. Well, I do. But not many of you want to watch one. So that's the infused oil. And we've got the wax melting up there, and we just need that. So I'm going to leave you with that for a second, so you can chill out, have a minute to yourself, watch the fire, and then I'll come back and I'll hopefully finish off our plantain healing salve or healing balm. And I'll tell you what it smells and feels like very soon, but I'm quite excited. And we'll see how it goes. Okay. Oh, the fire is good, looking good. Nice and hot. So I don't know if any of you heard the thunder last night, around midnight, but it struck here, and it was ever so hot. It was ever so loud, even, not hot. This is ever so hot, but it was ever so. There we go. It's almost done. I'm just going to pop that directly on there. So I think my big pan is stopping it from heating up. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it with my nice heat glove on top of there. So yes, I heard the clap of thunder last night, and wowzers, made me jump out of bed. And my poor doggy, she was absolutely terrified, and then stomped about for the next hour, feeling very sorry for herself. So I hope if you've got any doggies at home, or any pets or cats, that they were all happy with you. My son, on the other hand, slept all the way through it. Not a problem for him. Starting to melt now. Almost there. She don't need very long for wax. Almost melted. There we go. So, because I popped the jar directly on the heat, the jar is very hot. So the last couple of bits of wax will just melt in the residual heat of the jar. I'll give it a bit of a stir. There we go. So, we've got our infused plantain oil, and I've got my 10 grams, because I used about 15 plantain leaves. So I've got about 10 grams of beeswax. Oh, there we go. Couldn't get the jar open. And then we need to mix the plantain oil into the oil, and then very quickly get it into the jar. So, where can you see? About here. I might move a bit closer to fire, and then you might be able to see what I'm doing. Here we go. So, I'm going to pour the plantain oil in. Ooh. With my big glove. There we go. And I'm going to give it a good old mix. So, now I see one of the issues with doing it in advance, like Blue Peter style, is that my plantain oil is cold. So, the beeswax is slightly solidified, but the jar is still very hot. So I'm just giving it a stir. There we go. So it's mixed together. Luckily the jar's really hot and it's melted the beeswax again. So I don't know if you can see that. There we go. So I've mixed it all together. Now I'm going to give it a sniff and then decide whether I'm going to put some essential oils in and see what it smells like. So it's not got an unpleasant smell, but I don't think it's got much of a smell. So I think I am going to put some in. So I've got lemongrass. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in. So I don't know. I'm going to guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 drops. And we'll see how that looks. Okay. So. Oh, that smells better. It smells a little bit more, friendly. And that's just all personal preference. I think the essential oils, you don't have to put them in. And I've got my little jar ready to pour it into. So pop that back there so you can see. Give it a good another stir. Take the spoon out. Is the jar still hot? Yeah, the jar is still hot. So I'm going to use my glove and I'm going to pour it into the jar and stop. And pour it into the other jar and stop. Now, I feel like I've got a lot of mixture. Okay. Now the lady who gave me the recipe, said now you've got to be patient and leave it to dry. And what I want to do is try it out, but I'm going to have to leave it to cool down. So, now just have a little recap of what we've done for everyone who's just joined in. So, we found some ribwort plantain, okay, which has leaves that have ribs down them, or their veins run up and down. So you can see they're not a normal leaf structure. So normal leaf structure, let's find a leaf. So normal leaf structure has numerous veins that go up and out like a bit of a tree. But ribwort plantain have veins that go up and down. Okay. And they are pointy leaves. I haven't got a whole one because I've been ripping them up to show you. So they go up and they go up in a point and they grow in a patch, a bit like a bluebell sort of patch, that kind of spiky leaves all together, and they have prongs that go up with little brown blobs at the top with little tiny white sort of asteroids going around the sides. Okay, so that's their flower, and you find it kind of on roadsides and bits like that. And then what we did with those, you need about 30 of them to make a batch. I only could find 15 because I could only find 3 plants and I didn't want to take all of the leaves from all the other plants. So then I took them, ripped them up like that, popped them into a jar. So I've not got a clean jar to show you, but I have got one like that. So pop them into a jar or a Pyrex dish, squish them down as best you can, and then top it up with oil to the top of the leaves and no more. And then you pop it in a bain-marie, which is a pool of water over a heat, and you put a glass jar or a jug into it, and you gently let it simmer for half an hour until all the oil out of the leaves has infused in with the oil that you've added. I used olive oil, but you can use coconut oil for this as well. I believe that works well, but I don't have any, so I've got olive oil. And let that infuse into there. and then you'll end up with an infused plantain oil. And then if you've got 30 leaves, use 20 grams of beeswax. So beeswax tends to come in little bars like that, and that's about 30 grams, so you need the majority of that for there. But I used 10 grams because I only had half the leaves today. You melt that, and then you add that to your plantain oil, give it a good stir. If you want to add essential oils, about a teaspoon for a full batch in there. I used 12 drops because it's the first time of making it, so was guessing a little bit. And I've added that in. I give it a good stir, and then you decant it into little tubs or little pots, or I suppose you could keep it in one big jar, but you don't need very much of it. And you can see it's starting to set now. Okay, so my friend's one looks a bit more green than that, so I'm wondering whether I've maybe added too much oil to my plantain mix, or maybe because I let it cool I've lost some of the properties, I don't know. But we'll see. So it's looking quite good. It's not quite solid yet, but it's getting solider around the edges. I'm going to move this away from the fire because I don't think that's helping it set. So, and that one's the same in the bottom of that jar, just sort of setting away. It smells lovely of lemongrass. And plantain balm or salve is supposed to be an antiseptic and is good for nettle stings, insect bites, grazes, and that kind of thing. So it's very handy for people who go down the allotments or something like that and you haven't got anything with you. It's a bit more of a kinder way of doing things. I'm sure there's probably other properties to plantain that I don't know about. It's something that I've never really used for anything, so it's all a bit of an experiment. So thank you very much for joining me for my experiment, and I'm just going to let that cool a bit more, and then I'm going to see what it feels like in my fingers and my hands. And I'm hoping you're enjoying watching a bit of a fire this morning. It's very soothing to have a bit of a watch of a fire, and I've got, as I was saying before, I've got a bit of confidential waste that I'm just popping on there every now and again, just to get rid of it, which is all good. Okay, so do you think it's going to be ready? Should we have a little look? Oh, it's not quite hard, so if you can look inside there, you can see it's a little bit runny, but all around the edges is quite hard. So if I can get a little bit from around the edge, like that, my finger, and then give it a little rub on my hand. Oh, it's like rubbing on an ointment. It's kind of slightly greasy, so it doesn't initially go straight into your skin. But it is lovely. I mean, beeswax on the whole is put in a lot of moisturisers, so I imagine that's very good for your skin. I haven't actually got any grazes or anything because I've not been out and playing. I've not got any grazes to really apply it onto or burns. So, but it smells beautiful, and it feels really good on the skin, and it just melts away. It's not greasy now. It's all completely gone into the skin. So the beeswax is really doing its job because it's making my hands lovely and soft. But the plantain's supposed to be antiseptic, but it doesn't smell antiseptic. And it didn't really smell of anything before I put the essential oil in, just because the plantain just smells a bit like grass. A bit like kind of cut grass very faintly, and the oil smelled very faintly as well. And the beeswax doesn't really smell of anything. You have to give it a really good sniff to even get a bit of a smell. But the essential oils obviously is there, so it leaves that kind of nice gentle smell. With 12 drops for half a mixture. It's a very gentle smell. You can really smell it in the tub, but you can't really smell it. I think it's just a ever so delicate fragrance left. So you wouldn't have to be worried a bit like when you get a bit of TCP or albus oil or something like that, and it smells so pungent that you're like, whoa, it's too much. It's too much. Yeah, so I'm quite impressed with that. So I don't know, I'm half tempted to fall over now and get myself a little graze or something so I can try it out to see the antiseptic properties. And I'll have to ask my friend how she gets hers. If there's a mild colour of green there, but it's very, very mild. Hers is a little bit more green than that. So I'm wondering whether I've maybe not got the best water-filled leaves because it's not been very wet at the moment. So I'm wondering whether the leaves, because the leaves are very dry, even when you squish them in your fingers, they barely release any water. So I'm wondering whether because the leaves are so dry, it's not got enough. It's not got as much water and oil power in there to keep it going. Oh, it's dry enough for me to turn it upside down now. So that's my plantain balm. So I hope you enjoyed that. I did. I think I might try and make another batch. So I'm going to try and find some more plantain. Now it's rained for a few days. Maybe in another week or so, I might see if the leaves are a bit more plump and try again. See if I can get a greener one. I might ask my friend who makes it and see why it's not so green. So hopefully I'll get a more green one next time, but hopefully it'll work out quite well. It just looks a bit like lip balm now. I wonder if you could put it on your lips. I bet you could. Maybe. Because if you get a graze on your lip, you could put it on a graze maybe. But I'd maybe stick to my arms and my skin and my knees first before I start adding things onto my face that I'm not sure about. I'll have to ask some questions and see where and what I can use it for. If anyone knows any other uses for plantain, I'd be really interested in hearing them. But I'm going to pop the lids on these now, let them cool. There we go. And, oh, wrong lid. And I'm going to leave you to your day. So I hope you enjoy that. I'm also going to upload a video for the kids out there, and I'm going to upload a video about making a game. Me and Jack made a game yesterday, and just from natural things we found in the garden. And so my challenge to you is, can you find some things in your garden and make a game out of it? So check out the video, and that I'll post on later, and it's already up on YouTube for those people on YouTube. You can have a little watch of it and see what you think of our game, what we could do to make it better, what we could do to make it more fun, and you can always have a go at home, or you can make up your own game, but please tell me all about it. Tell me all about what you've done. See you later, guys. Bye.